Chief's Convenience. If you can't find what you want, let us know and we'll get it.
We're here to discuss the budget from 2024 to 2025, which begins on April 1st and ends next year, 2025 and March 31st. The biggest difference you'll see from last year's, the current year we're in, is the budget for this year was $67 million. The budget for April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025 will be $100.1 million. The main reason for that huge difference is $25 million will be going towards the multi-purpose building project. So we're all aware of that. One of the highlights of this year's budget is going to be the outdoor rink project at the sports complex. Sports complex will also receive upgrades to doors and fire exits, dressing rooms, etc., accessibility for handicapped. Also, there's a creek rehabilitation project is one of the things that's going to be done this year, and that will leave us with a surplus of this year of $12.8 million. As always, our finance department has done a great job in figuring out how we're going to be spending our money. The council table approved this budget unanimously, consensus. So with that said, I'll turn it over because I know you guys want to get into the weeds about numbers. So Oné Markby and Kyle DeLille will answer any specific questions you have. Thank you.
Nyao Lindsay, and nyao everybody for attending this morning. I know Lindsay, Lisa introduced me, but Onoratuka Markby, Executive Director here at the MCK. I'm sure you guys recognize Kyle DeLille as former CEO, Executive Director at Dewaduni Zakta. He is still under a year old here at the MCK, but glad that he's been part of this budget process. Again, I want to thank the finance unit, but also the rest of the staff who participated in the development of our 2024-2025 annual budget. Given the size of the MCK, it is always an extensive exercise to build our budget on an annual basis. So just wanted to acknowledge the work of finance and the senior management, the directors who helped develop their own unit budgets as well. So as Lindsay alluded to, you'll notice a big jump in our annual budget. We're attributing that to the multi-purpose building of about $25 million. So that's the amount that we plan to expense in the next fiscal year only. That project cost is much higher, so you'll see in future budgets beyond the next fiscal year additional expenses for the multi-purpose building. Some other notable items to mention that contribute to the increase in this year's budget include the acquisition of more electric buses and the EV charging stations. There's also an increase in salaries due to the creation of some new positions over the last year. And recently we implemented a new market study for our administration. Again, Lindsay mentioned some of new projects that will be taking place over the next fiscal year. SRU, as he mentioned, will be having a lot of new projects going on for the duration. Actual renovations to the arena itself, the rink roof project. The plan is to actually have the rink built within the next fiscal year, and the roof would have to come at a later time. We've also will be undertaking the creation of a walking path around the sports complex. So again, a lot of investment going into our sports and recreation unit. I think it's also important to acknowledge the collaboration and financial contribution from KSCS, who provided a significant amount of funds to SRU in order to undertake these projects. The operational surplus, as mentioned in the press release, $12.8 million. We will be appropriating this back into the operational reserve. Again, our reserves are to put money aside for future planning and operations or unexpected expenses that may occur. I think it's also important to note that of the $100 million budget, that approximately 65% of that will be funded by external governments, whereas the remaining 35% is covered through our own source revenue. On that note, it'll be important that we continue to focus on own source revenue so that we can continue to sustain and even grow our operations, programs, and services at the MCK. As we're all aware, the government doesn't, the external governments don't cover certain areas of MCK operations, including sports and rec, language and culture. So again, having our own source revenue to ensure that those types of important services are covered within our community, own source revenue plays a crucial role in that. With that, Kyle, first time doing his press conference as MCK EFO.
I think you pretty much just covered everything, so I don't know if there's anything else for me to add. So in addition to the $100 million or $100.1 million budget that the MCK has as well, we have an additional approximately $2.8 million that gets transferred to external organizations, which includes the library, KOR, and the Kahnawake Fire Brigade as well. Other than that, I think you pretty much covered everything. So at this point, any questions that you may have?
So our own source revenue, historically the biggest items came from the EGD revenue, MOL. I think you've all noticed in a recent couple of years, the MOL dividend that comes to the MCK has been either significantly lowered or not existent. But own source revenue would include EGD's MOL dividends, KGC revenue, our interest revenue for our investments on excess cash, some of the lease payments that we receive at the KOC building, as well as the housing rent. So we're using approximately 35% of our budget is being funded by own source revenue, the rest coming from federal government, provincial government. We took a conservative approach in our projections for EGDs in this fiscal year. So yes, that's been taken into consideration for this year, next year's budget.
It's just reflecting that we didn't put that into consideration as part of our own source revenues from electronic gaming devices. So we projected conservatively when we did the budget. We weren't sure which direction it was going to go, so we'd rather be safe, be conservative on that. We'd rather project less than project more, so we don't have any expenses that we suddenly can't cover. So we just, to be conservative, we said let's just assume we're not going to get any revenues, so let's not put that into from Magic House. So that's already built in.
We usually use our own source revenue to fund those programs and services that aren't covered by the government. The ones we always highlight being sports and rec, language and culture. If there's any other specific areas that we know don't receive funding.
That concludes our session. Thank you for showing up.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.